Welcome back to another episode of Minutes of Truth. I'm your only host on this show. Very proud of it because no one else seems to know how to do it, so I'm going to continue to do it. Good morning, Carmen, and good morning, Zippity. Glad to see you this fine morning. We got a few things to go over today. One of them is actually going to be a fairly half-sided show. I'm going to go through some news segments that I thought would be important, and then we're going to go over a not really new and upcoming issue that we're going to have, but I was sent a video and I found a longer video, Zippity. So we're going to go over 761, I believe. The 764 online network targeting children. Yeti, Batmom. Good to see y'all as always. But before we get started anything, you know how to get in the mood, play a little bit of music. So everybody, right now, go get your coffee, get your water, use the bathroom, and then I shall see you on the other side. I don't know if it's going to be 2 minutes, 1 minute, 5 minutes. Just enjoy. All right, hope y'all got your coffee. So let's get started with the first story.
Listen to this,
is
please.
a body cam footage, not body cam, sorry. This is from DC, Daily Caller. And you know what? We're not going to do that one.
13-year-old girl.
So we're going to start off with something someone sent me from Georgia, one of my buddies. He sent me one clip, then I realized, holy shit, there's a whole nother clip. What's up, Gilf? So, does anybody know Tim Tebow? I know Tim Tebow. You should know Tim Tebow. And if you're in Colorado, you definitely know who Tim Tebow is. Well, he was on the Sean Ryan show, and well, it was a whole, like a 2-3 hour episode, but they cut out two important parts that I feel we should watch. And now that I feel we're going to watch it, we are going to watch it.
We can't stand by and stand back. Like, we have to stand up and say, not only are we not doing our job as men, it's actually the opposite. Instead of being defenders and protectors of our families, we're hurting and abusing. We were in the office last week, and we're talking with someone that's amazing in this space, and we're going through a case to try to learn from this and do some more stuff. And the guy that has already been put away and convicted of his crime was abusing an 18-month-old, his 18-month-old, and his 9-month-old. And I was sitting there and just horror, right? But then we're looking at what he was doing it on, and he was doing it on a Florida Gator blanket. And I was thinking, man, this is probably someone that was rooting for the Gators.
Yep.
Probably someone that maybe is a fan or likes the Gators, likes when I played. But no, this, how personal this is. Maybe it's someone that's in the stadium watching us play, right? Like, this isn't far off or far across around the world, because we always think, and even sometimes members of Congress will say to us, but, we got to, worry about our backyard. No, we're talking about our backyard. This is our backyard. This is right here. Mm-hmm. Like, I could tell you so many stories of our backyard in Jacksonville or in Florida or around our country of there's an operation last year that a task force, multidisciplinary task force came together in Jacksonville that were luring
Oh, Jackson.
men that wanted to sleep with, I believe it was 8 and 13-year-olds, and lured him. And 27 men showed up and got
God
arrested
damn.
because they had the goal of sleeping with an 8-year-old or a 13-year-old. And the, so many of them work in places with kids. They, one of them was a former professional athlete. A couple of them were tied to law enforcement or part of law enforcement. Like, this isn't just like over there. It's here. It's our backyard. And we have to stand up for these boys and girls. And we got to change laws, legislation. We got to build a bigger army. We got to be able to create awareness, know what families can do, protect your kids. Also, in the same time, when your kids go onto the internet, they have to know that they are getting lured, groomed, stalked by people with the intent to do evil. And people with a goal to do good have to work better. I was telling you earlier when we were downstairs when, there's a dark web site that was taken down. And before it was, one of the last messages that was sent out was a message you had thought would have been coming from a pulpit. Hey, I just want you all to know that I believe in you. Stay strong, stay vigilant, stay alert. We can get through this together. We can do this. And it was a place where so many men were joining it so that they could view the rape of boys and girls, be a part of this terrible evil. And yet they're working together many times better than people with the goal to do good. Why? Is because so many times we're more worried about the credit than we are about the mission. And what does the credit matter? Who cares about the credit? It doesn't matter. Like, we don't care. Anybody take it. We just want these kids to be out of harm's way.
Earlier, you had mentioned that you bring this subject up and they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it because
Nobody
it
wants to
reminds
hear
them
it.
of their kids or whatever other bullshit excuse they have. What I think it's important to, for lack of a better term, put some of this on display for people to hear. And you had mentioned a specific satanic cult that I'll let you finish it. Has to do with the
story I
Bible.
was telling you earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just of that was a story of a friend of ours that fights in this space maybe 3-4 weeks ago was telling us, and this is a story from Texas, and it was a 13-year-old girl that was being raped while someone would stand there and read the Bible to her.
What the fuck?
And then they would rotate and someone else would come in, read the Bible while she would be going through this horrible evil. And part of the reason that it was believed that they were doing this is so that the worst moment of her life would be associated with
With the
God's
Bible.
word. And that's a lot of evil.
Yeah.
But you want to know like what these type of conversations and stuff are sharing too. If you want to read something.
Tebow might cry if he reads it.
It's okay to share those. Okay. I can. You want me to?
No matter where you're watching Sean Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment,
That's not the only part of
subscribe,
this.
and most
There's
importantly,
2 parts that were
share
important.
this everywhere.
Do you know the number 1? 13 air? Specifically, our heart is to get to as many and leverage anything and everything we can so that they can get out of this evil. And as I mentioned earlier, you think so much is done by all these groups and gangs, and yes, that does take place in a lot of areas. But man, it's overwhelming when you think how much is done by families, by friends, by those in the trusted circle. And especially when we talk about the fight against child exploitation and child sexual abuse, it's off the charts of what is being done in the families. And do you know what's the, I don't know if I want to say most disappointing, but maybe one of the most heartbreaking is, do you know the number 1 offender?
Wait for it.
Biological fathers. And it would It's not gonna make your day.
Watch this.
I brought a map to share with you. Is this map? Every red dot on that. So first of all, that is a DOJ law enforcement map. It's called the red dot map.
Look at all those red dots.
Every this is over the last 30 days, and every red dot on that map.
I didn't catch that the first time. That's only 30 days monitoring. Holy shit.
Is at least one unique IP address of individuals downloading, sharing, distributing child abuse and rape images under the age of 12. And there's over 111,000 of them just in the US of the last 30 days.
Holy fuck.
And I wanted to bring that because I think it brings to life so much of the evil that we're trying to face. And
Just
people
keep
will
in mind,
say,
guys,
well,
this is just the United States. 11,000. What did you say, 11,000 or 11? Either way, it doesn't really fucking matter. One is one. Alex has a live catch? Son of a bitch, he does. Hey, Zip. Let me know when his locals kicks off, then I'll let y'all head on over there.
that's just over there, and it's in those countries, and it's all of those places, and it's not. Sean, it's right here in our backyard. It is right here. And out of everyone, and some people will say, okay, well they're just downloading and sharing it and distributing it, but they're not. 55 to 85% are also hands-on offenders, and your average offender has 13 victims in their lifetime. 13 victims.
What the fuck?
Every one of those red dots is there's a boy or girl that is suffering on the other end of what they're sharing, downloading, or distributing. And I wanted to share that with you because I know that your heart breaks for them. And I think that map brings to life the evil that we're trying to fight. And it's why, one of our hearts is to get the Renewed Hope Act passed through Congress, because it takes the law enforcement officers right now and victim identification officers at C3, and they're amazing. Some of my favorite people in the world, but there's 7 of them right now at C3.
Right,
How many?
Crystal?
7 people to
Yes, and
combat
also
all of
ICACs are
this.
working on that. We love ICAC, and we need to enhance their funding because they desperately need it.
We actually do need
Internet crimes against children, and they're awesome. 62 locations around the country, but primarily the ones that are also working on this are at C3. And we want to get the Renewed Hope Act passed because it would take it from 7 to 200. And now we have a much greater chance if we have all of those officers that are trained and equipped to be fighting against this evil. And again, that's the last 30 days.
Well, they
And
can
that's
be
not
fixed. It's
getting
called a
into
wood
live
chipper.
streaming or sextortion or grooming or so many of the other issues we're fighting. That is
And if
just
a wood
in
chipper can't fix them, a 7.62 will definitely do the job.
peer-to-peer networks of them sharing and distributing child rape images under the age of 12.
That's fucking
This
gross.
is
And
12
sad.
and under.
12 and under.
111,423 unique IP addresses.
And some people will say, well, that's just, they're just downloading it and they're just sharing it. And no, it's not just that easy. You have to go in, you have to
That's crazy. I pick a show that's predominantly about child predators, and look what happens.
download it, just a peer-to-peer, and then you have to be able to download all of these images, and then you're sharing them. It's not like this just happens by accident. It's not like, oh, I just looked at a bad picture, and it's not like this is a photo of a baby in a bathtub. No, so many of these are brutal abuse of children. And when we go back to those 50,000 boys and girls that are unknown in the ICSA database that we were talking about before, out of those 57,000, over 3,000 of them were infants or toddlers.
Oh, man.
And so if you say what's on our heart, and these are boys and girls that can't fight for themselves. They can't defend themselves. And yet, so many of us, myself for so long, did nothing to defend or stand up for them. And it is our heart that we would rally an army, and maybe we would even declare a national emergency to fight this evil. If this is happening in our backyard, and out of all those that have been rescued from, or out of all those that have been, safeguarded and rescued from Renewed Hope 1, 2, and 3, more than half of those boys and girls have been right here in the U.S. So we think it's over there, it's over there, it's over there. No, yes, it is happening in other places, but it is happening in our country, right here, in our neighborhoods, in our backyards, in our families. And then we get into the fight against live streaming. And do you know the number one payer of live stream rape of boys and girls around the world?
U.S.
U.S. Not close.
That's fucking.
And in peer-to-peer sharing, we're third. China, Russia, America.
Man.
Sorry, I do get fired up about
I
it.
do
Yeah,
too,
I
man.
can tell what you
It's,
need. If you guys never saw him testify
How are you
before
combating
Congress,
this?
Well, we're trying to do it.
you need to watch it. I know I did it the day after he testified, but I can't remember how long ago it was. Just type in Tim Tebow testifies in Congress.
In every area, in every way possible, whether that's with partnerships and nonprofits and law enforcement and rallying and task forces and legislation and lobbying, trying to get them to enhance the army per se in fighting this. And that's really what the Renewed Hope Act is for. But it's also getting the Renewed Hope operations more and more and more. And we're having more and more every day. But it's also, creating awareness. And I hate to use awareness because people say it all the time. And I don't want awareness for awareness sake. I want people to be aware so we act to do something. I think we really have to change laws and legislation.
Yeah, you
I
need to
believe
look
there's
it
a
up,
lot of
people.
people in
It's pretty
Congress and in
emotional.
DC that want to change it, but we have to get it done. We have to protect these boys and girls. And I know we have to figure out budgets and balances and all these important things, but what does it matter if we figure out a budget but our boys and girls in our backyard are being raped and abused? Like, let's make the main thing the main thing. This should be a main thing. Like, this has to be a main thing.
No matter where you're watching Sean Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like.
That's fucking insane, right? And that's why Tim Tebow is like a hidden gem. He's a big name. He testified before Congress, which was what's the word I'm looking? Not heartbreaking, eye-opening. Hey Laura, how you doing? So I was gonna do a whole bunch of other stuff to include the news, but I'm gonna put that off until tomorrow because Alex is gonna have a catch. So we're just gonna stay right in with child sex predators, and this one was sent to me by Zippity yesterday. And then we're gonna go over what else I found from Canada, of all places, to fit the state. Laura, glad you showed up. That's funny.
To an FBI warning about a criminal network targeting kids at home. ABC News joined with some of our owned and affiliate stations across the country to investigate the threat. Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas is here with what they found. Good morning, Pierre.
George, good morning. The FBI is warning that this new network has a potential national security implication, but also in case after case, directly reaching into American homes, targeting teens and their families. Its name, 764.
Hello? I have placed 2 explosives inside of Rockville High School, okay? And if they fail to detonate, I'm just going to shoot every kid I see, okay?
This call was a hoax, but part of a series of nightmare threats terrorizing Vernon, Connecticut. Investigators determining the threats came from overseas, but with the help of a teenage girl living right in town.
He was doing these threats with her knowledge and with some of her input.
Both of them involved in a shadowy online global network called 764, which wants governments toppled and the world in chaos, but which also targets kids on social media and gaming platforms, befriending them before demanding violent and sexual content from them.
They will encourage them sometimes to commit suicide. They will encourage them to do cutting. They will encourage them to harm their pets.
Yo, you know what?
Basically psychological warfare on children.
First time I actually saw someone that was a cutter in like face to face, I was like, holy fuck. This is insane. And they're like on the inside of her thighs on both sides. And it wasn't just 1, 2. Dude, you can tell she was doing it for a while.
They gain the trust, and then they continue to build that trust to the point where they have power and the ability to blackmail the child, basically.
The girl thought the hoaxer was her boyfriend, and he convinced her to share pornography and create 764-related content, like this Barbie doll with the group's name written on its forehead.
It was very difficult to process. I wanted to scream, "Not my child."
ABC News agreed to alter the faces and voices of the parents of the teenage girl.
Before it started, she was a child who was on the honor roll. She had a lot of friends, and then slowly that
He's
started
fine
to
though, so there's
change.
nothing to worry about.
When the girl began to resist demands,
Right.
her family says extortion and threats against her ramped up.
Do we consider her a victim or a
Yeah, but you can still hang out.
Depending on who you ask, the answer may be different.
So you sometimes have victims who then become subjects themselves because they start to go out and perpetrate acts on behalf of the individual who victimized them.
The FBI tells ABC News in an exclusive interview that it
Yeah,
takes more than
that's where a lot of people do it. It's on the arm, and that's why they wear long sleeves. But this girl really wanted to keep it hidden. Unfortunately, when you do a physical for the United States military, you're in your underwear. I don't do the physicals. That was the MEPS. But they caught it, and I was like, hold on a second. And obviously, I saw it, and I was like, dude, that's fucked up. How did we not catch that?
150 open investigations tied to the 764 network, reaching all 55 field offices across the nation. Nearly a dozen others have already been charged, including a young Arkansas man seen here being arrested on unrelated charges.
Man, this guy's got some weird stuff in his car, bro.
But now pleading guilty to plotting to murder a 14-year-old girl in a separate case when she stopped complying with his demands.
That's
Back
Arkansas.
In Connecticut, the parents of that teenage girl hoping that what happened to her family can be a cautionary tale for others.
If we can help just one family, then it's worth it.
Boy, Pierre, this is such a chilling story right there. So is this name 764 a clue to their motivations?
Well, the origins are in Texas. A 15-year-old boy who lives in an area code with a zip code that begins with 764 helped launch the network. And
Yeah, I remember this
group
kid.
is about pain. This group is about terror. It's about bringing about harm to people. There does not seem to be any kind of financial motive that we can see.
And Pierre, interesting what you asked about whether they're victims or participants. This young girl you profiled here, where is she now? How is she doing?
Well, she was arrested and she's making her way through the judicial process. She's cooperating with police. Her parents hope that through the cooperation she can get her life back and not have her future destroyed. She's in therapy, making her way back, but not fully back.
Yeah, she's gonna be fucked
So
for
what
the
does
rest
law
of her life.
enforcement, what do they want parents to know?
Mentally, you don't
At the
recover
end
from
of the
that.
day, you have to engage with your children. Keep communicating with them. Know what platforms they're using, and if you see anything suspicious, report it to police.
Boy, this is report.
Yeah, when you're grooming and it's grooming to where it went that far, it's going to be really hard for her to come back from that. Unfortunately. All right, give me a second because they want me to be 18 plus for this. Now, if you know it's 18 plus on YouTube, it's going to be 18 plus on mine, and that means something. It's going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Triggering. But like I said, when you come here, expect to see reality as it really is. What's up, fuck your feelings?
Story includes coarse language, references to sexual assault and sexual violence, self-harm, and suicide. It also contains anti-Semitic and racist imagery. Viewer discretion is advised.
On this edition of The Fifth Estate,
I lifted up my shirt and I said, look what they've done to me, look what they've done to me, I can't take this anymore.
we're in Alberta, on the trail of a global online network of sadistic predators, growing in Canada.
The only word I could come up with was it was just absolute evil.
Kids have committed suicide because of this group. Self-harm to the point where they need serious medical intervention.
They're going after vulnerable children,
The group called the 764 it targets minors.
demanding they kill pets and even their parents.
I would sleep with a kitchen knife under my pillow.
Our investigation uncovers the deepening danger on and offline.
All right, hey,
An escalating
Alex is live, guys, so if you want to head over to his locals, Zippity's going to drop it. You're more than welcome to. I'm going to put it on one of my other TVs and semi-watch it.
Threat police are only beginning to understand.
Why wasn't this girl's case a priority?
I think that this is the greatest terror attack facing Western society.
I'm Joanna Rumeliotis. This is the Fifth Estate.
They loved watching me in pain. They fed my tears and I fed their desires. I told them I loved it. I told them I wanted more. But in truth, I was their mindless slave.
My name is Trinity. I was 14 when I was
What's up,
groomed
Stacy?
by members of 764.
Glad you made it, brother.
Exploited
Those
for
who don't
3
know,
years.
dude, we've known each other since what, '08? We deployed twice. Real good dude, man. If y'all ever get a chance to say what's up to him, I highly recommend it.
It just became so painful. I didn't feel real. I didn't feel like a human being. We've tried to tell this story and nobody's listened. Nobody believes it. It's too obscure. It's too obscene.
764 defies the imagination in the worst of ways. Trinity had been lured into a global online network of satanic neo-Nazi extremists, terrorizing thousands of children around the world. This story may be hard to watch. 764's cruelty is so sadistic, it's unlike anything police have ever seen. And no child, especially a vulnerable one, is safe.
Abuse was very familiar to me, especially from a male, especially like manipulative abuse. I had something happen to me when I was really young. I was sexually assaulted by a family member. He stopped assaulting me, and I felt like I still needed that. I still needed that male validation in a terrible way. It's really sick and twisted.
Trinity was a perfect target for 764. For their safety, we're not using their last names.
I met these people on accident. One of my friends was showing me these gore videos on Discord, invited me to one of them, and then I ended up like talking in those servers.
Those servers are private groups on platforms like Discord and Telegram. It's where 764 members groom their victims.
I saw lots of girls naked, covered in
Dude,
blood.
that's ridiculous the way they're
lots of starving girls.
carving shit into them.
There's a video of a girl who hung herself on her closet. Lots of animals being tortured.
She plays some ISIS music as well.
ISIS music.
This is just one video Trinity saw in a 764 Discord chat of another victim.
Are you crying?
She is ridiculed while she is coerced by someone named Felix to bite off the head of a hamster.
If you don't take a bite out
Jesus
of it, I'm gonna
Christ.
make you do more fucked up shit than that, okay? Hurry up.
I was like, oh my God, this is terrible, but I also wanted to fit in. So a lot of people came to me and asked me to do things for them, and because I was literally a mind fuck, like,
Yeah, brainwashed.
I did it. They would say, like, if you cut my name into your body, then I own you.
What kind of curls do you want?
Nothing too, like, bulky.
Okay. I am Maria. I am Trinity's mom, and I have been fighting for Trinity for many years when it comes to 764.
Trinity, as a little kid, was smart, beautiful. She was happier than most kids.
I started to watch her deteriorate into nothing, having no friends, spending lots of time on the computer. I started to go through her phone and I found some things that were very alarming. I found pictures of her hurting herself and masturbating, and pictures of her cutting herself, and pictures of animals and blood and gore. It was very obvious that she was being...
I don't know what I would do, honestly. I would be upset. Not with my kid. But I would be highly upset, and I would try to take down a network. I mean, I have a guy that's, works cybersecurity.
Exploited.
Trinity's diary became her witness.
I'd been distinctly manipulated, then dropped into the hands of evil.
She wrote about how within weeks, at least a dozen 764 members around the world were exploiting her. She even outlined the cuts they forced her to make on her body.
This one was kind of weird because now it goes back to government corruption and government testing. When you see they had her carve MK Ultra, and especially in Canada, because Kamala Harris's mom was part of development and testing.
I was forced to cut into my vagina. I didn't want to do that. I did not want to do that at all. I was so terrible. I would
No.
sit in my own filth. I wouldn't change my underwear. I wouldn't shower. I wouldn't get out of bed. I wouldn't eat. I got threatened that they would send my photos to my school, my mom, my friends. They would tell everybody everything I've ever done. And like, it was really like terrible blackmail.
How scared were you?
Terrified.
I believe it.
Absolutely terrified.
She would say, I need my phone back. They love me. If I'm not on the internet, they're going to tell everybody. They're going to show everybody. You have to give it back to me.
What would happen when you took away the phone or turn off the Wi-Fi?
She would break through drywall to get to me. She would get violent. She would start screaming and drooling and throwing herself on the floor, banging her head on the walls, scratching herself, pulling her hair out.
It was bad.
It was bad.
It was really bad.
While she was in the depths of 764, Trinity was diagnosed with depression and borderline personality disorder.
And that didn't
She
help
also
it.
struggled with substance abuse and suicidal thoughts.
Calgary's full, Edmonton's full.
Maria called Children and Family Services, desperate to find treatment centers, but she says there were wait lists. She also called the police several times. In Red Deer, the RCMP is the municipal force.
As it got worse, Trinity became a runaway, and so I would call the police constantly saying she is a suicidal risk, she has self-harm ideations, and they would say that they would drive around and look for her when they're out on patrol, and that was about what I would get.
Did you share with police that you thought your daughter was being exploited by a group called 764?
I didn't know about the group in itself being called 764. I did say that it was a cult, and I still very much felt that I was unheard.
Maria says 764's hold only got stronger. Then Trinity met someone who would become her worst tormentor yet.
Oh, MK Ultra.
I met MK Ultra a few months into my telegramming. I told him I had been assaulted at a young age. He was obsessed with that. He said to me that he wanted to do the same things to me. He wished he was my family member that did that.
Trinity says she soon fell under MK Ultra's
Oh,
control.
Jesus Christ.
Over the next few months, she did whatever he demanded, without ever knowing his real identity, even writing a letter to him, splattered with her own blood.
MK, I will shed more than my own blood for you. I will hurt others for you, to show you how much I truly love you. I can't get enough of you. I need you so bad. I'm nothing without you.
She says he forced her to brand herself by carving his screen name into her chest.
You want that?
Trinity says MK Ultra also demanded she sacrifice her pets and her own mother.
Fuck you!
To kill her, and then he was supposed to come, and we were supposed to go on a literal killing spree where he would abduct females, rape them, young females, rape them, and then kill them.
For many months, I lived in fear that she was going to kill me, and I would sleep with a kitchen knife under my pillow. My animals were behind a locked door. Every door in my house had a lock code.
And then the plan was, like, when the cops inevitably showed up, we were supposed to just shoot ourselves.
But you seriously contemplated it?
I did. He turned me into someone that I would never, ever think of being.
What's up,
Trinity
Chantel?
kept
Good to see
sinking
you.
Deeper. Then she hit a breaking point. In July 2021, she tried to kill herself while she says members goaded her on.
I live streamed for everybody in a Discord of me taking a blood bath and scorching hot water. Before I got into the bathtub, they, because I was a bigger girl at the time, they had me get on my knees and squeal like a pig, and that was so disgusting to me. I did not want to do it, and I had this little chain. I tried choking myself and drowning myself under boiling hot water.
God damn.
When she was in the bathtub, I was pounding on the door for her to come out.
I was having a fucking mental breakdown, and I lifted up my shirt and I said, look what they've done to me, look what they've done to me, I can't take this anymore. And then she took me to the hospital, and then a doctor said we have to call the police, and I told them everything that just happened.
You told them about 764?
Yeah, I told them everything. They had a female officer take photos of my body. I was covered head to toe in names, symbols. I had a swastika right in the middle of my chest.
I felt helpless and scared, and I was so sad for her.
No
so
anger?
sad for her, and I just didn't know I didn't know what to do.
Trinity was placed in protective care for a little over a month. This court order obtained by the Fifth Estate acknowledges that she was dragged into a cult community called 764, and that the RCMP was concerned that without proper intervention, there was potential for Trinity to be harmed and the pattern to continue.
So what happened when she's in the hospital
Officers
for a
also
month?
took 2 phones and a laptop for analysis. Finally, it seemed the police were listening.
I wanted them to find evidence that Trinity was being exploited. I wanted them to find evidence of the child pornography because I knew she wasn't the only one. I wanted them to find all of the cutting pictures. I'll never forget them. They're imprinted and burned in my brain for the rest of my life.
RCMP's Internet Child Exploitation Unit in Calgary, which specializes in retrieving electronic evidence, had the devices for more than 7 months.
God.
The RCMP/ICE had called me in between that period and asked me for Trinity's Apple ID. Trinity didn't remember Apple ID. The other thing that this group would convince these kids to do is constant new emails, different Apple IDs. She was constantly changing. So they said that they needed her Apple ID to be able to log in to get information. And they returned the devices because they could not find any evidence. I was flabbergasted.
Way to go, Canada.
You guys specialize in this. There's no way that you couldn't break into a child's phone.
So they returned the devices, the case closed?
Yeah. And I mean, the evidence of her body should have been evidence enough.
Yeah.
Her statement should have been evidence enough. So maybe they didn't take it serious that way because she was the one holding the knife, but it should have been taken serious.
I guess they don't understand the purpose of grooming.
Maria says it would be 3 years before the RCMP talked to them again about
Grooming a thing up
764,
there?
and only after someone thousands of kilometers away made a shocking discovery.
We found some of the worst child exploitation that I've ever seen.
It's just a new breed of terrorism that's dedicated to collapsing Western society.
The FBI in Pittsburgh is warning parents of internet predators.
There's a group called the 764. It targets minors.
764 and its related groups draw inspiration from a satanic neo-Nazi movement called O9A. They operate in what's called the COM, short for the community, a digital network of cyber criminals.
Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't use community. Don't use cult. Oh my God. I'm starting to freak out here. Sorry, I have to make jokes out of, serious shit. It's just the way I am.
And prowl on popular platforms looking for vulnerable children to exploit.
Yeah, Laura, I'm really surprised that they didn't just, hey, go kill yourself like they've been doing to a lot of the older people recently.
Often disguised as supportive spaces for kids with eating disorders or low self-esteem.
The most horrendous part about it is it's minors doing this to minors. And we're talking about
10-year-olds
targeting 16-year-olds, 16-year-olds sextorting 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds.
Marc-Andre Argentino studies extremism and is a world expert on 764. He helps police around the globe, including the RCMP, understand what they're up against. 764's only ideology, he says, is violence.
There's no activism. They're not even worried about, the disappearance of the white race. This is actually a interracial community where they just want
that 15-year-old?
Be the most violent.
I can remember his name. I could totally look it up.
Argentino says there are 764 cases in at least 24 countries. He works at Public Safety Canada. Tracking 764 here is now a top priority.
There are likely individuals in every single province. There's probably victims in every single province and territory in Canada. The impact that a single individual could have is massive. Some of these individuals, they're targeting dozens of victims on a daily basis.
And they do it for bragging rights and
Yo.
status. A warning.
Give me a sec. I want you to see this article. This is from May 1st.
Leaders
Steve, you know, that's right. Shocking to hear the testimony in court. An FBI agent explained just how dangerous this network known as 764 is to society. The FBI agent saying it targets minors, specifically girls, exploiting them. Now the I-team is uncovering new information about one of the accused leaders, this man who lives not far from the triangle, who's now behind bars. Persan Nepal, a 20-year-old from High Point charged with child exploitation enterprise. The I-team there when Nepal appeared in federal court in Greensboro Tuesday, where authorities say he was one of the leaders of the violent extremist network known as 764. According to an affidavit unsealed today in D.C., 764 is a violent online network that seeks to destroy civilized society through the corruption and exploitation of vulnerable populations, including minors. The FBI says members of the 764 groom minors that they meet online.
Relationships which might appear to be innocuous at first, and then progressing to a place where they're asking for individuals to comply with their demands, production of photos, and beginning a cycle of control and fear.
In court, the FBI agent investigating the case said Nepal, who was known as Trippy on the network, allegedly encouraged 764 members to coerce and extort minors to produce heinous materials online, such as live streaming acts of self-harm, animal cruelty, sexually explicit acts, and even suicide. In the affidavit, it describes how Nepal provided guidance directly to other 764 members, how to effectively groom and extort victims. One example, it stated, Nepal allegedly wrote, extortion is a form of discipline to little girls who might not have a father at home. It's a good thing. When the 764 member posts about how he can further extort the female even more. According to the criminal complaint, Nepal responded in part, you have this image and you have her school. You can blackmail her. You tell her you will show this picture to her family and friends. She can avoid if she just obeys you. Besides Nepal, authorities say Leonidas Varganias, a U.S. citizen but living in Greece, was also arrested and charged with operating this global child exploitation ring. In response to this bust, U.S. Attorney General Pamela Bondi said these defendants are accused of orchestrating one of the most heinous online child exploitation enterprises we have ever encountered, a network built on terror, abuse, and the deliberate targeting of children. Nepal's family was in court, including his mom and dad, an older sister and younger brother. His sister testified they had no idea Nepal was allegedly involved in 764 and saw no signs of his involvement. I caught up with the family after court. Your brother's accused of some pretty serious crimes.
Please don't ask him anything.
Can you tell us, I mean, this was happening in the home. He admits to being a leader of the 764. Did you have any idea?
We have a minor with us. Please don't ask anything. We have a minor.
We're not talking about right here.
Nepal's attorney also declined to comment.
There's a minor right there, and you're worried about them when your fucking brother was exploiting minors. The fuck out of here.
What you're about to see is very disturbing, but will help you understand what these groups are capable of. This is a so-called lore book by a group related to 764 obtained by the Fifth Estate. Perpetrators collect and share images of what they've forced their victims to do, including branding themselves with their usernames. And this is not even the worst of it. Many of the images are so horrific that we can't show them. What's more, these belong to only a handful of members. It's a tiny fraction of what's actually out there.
It's soul-crushing to go into these spaces. An individual that I saw recently who was forcing a minor female to swallow razor blades on camera, that type of sadistic violence, that type of nerve, it was not something I was able to watch all the way through.
Wait,
on this edition of the Fifth Estate.
Breaking news out of Henry County, where a nationwide Amber Alert has been issued for a young girl.
We first investigated 764 last year. It's when we met Allie Broadway, a young victim in Virginia.
I was scared to death. He would say, if you don't do this, then you don't love me.
The FBI had just issued a public
in all
advisory.
fairness, like when my parents, I was a latchkey kid, so I was getting into a lot of trouble. However, we didn't have the internet.
About the danger of 764 and similar groups like CVLT or Cult and Harm Nation. It was accompanied by a series of arrests in the United States and Europe. including Bradley Cadenhead, who was only 15 years old when he created 764 in 2020 and named it after his zip code in Texas. He was sentenced to 80 years in prison for possessing child pornography. Given its
80
global
years.
reach, we tried to interview the RCMP for our original story, but it only responded with an email saying it is aware of the danger of the online group 764 and that it remains vigilant for potential threats. Since then, we've discovered the threat is only rising.
Oh, I didn't even have flip phones.
I just want to figure out what's going on. I want to try to get as many of these people behind bars as possible.
This is Becca. She's a private investigator who hunts online predators. Offline, she also trains as a competitive shooter. She's made 764 her biggest target. For her safety, we're not
At least
disclosing
still use
where she
iron
lives
sights, not a
or her
fucking.
last name.
I felt an obligation to do what I could to help the kids, the victims, and to stop these people from doing this to more kids. I saw the video, Kyle Spitz's mom, and that kind of threw me into this world of 764.
At first, there was no connection between 764 and this chaotic video posted last year by a Tennessee man named Kyle Spitz.
Tennessee. Holy shit!
The shooter was his mother's boyfriend, and as the video went viral, Spitz was initially hailed as a victim.
It wasn't until I started to see victims in the comment section saying, this guy's a member of a satanic cult. He had a 12-year-old victim. That girl had come to me for help. She was very afraid. But she did ultimately decide to go to the police after I talked to her for a while.
Becca posted what she had learned about Spitz, who went by criminal in 764.
And it went like what you would call viral. And it was only a few weeks later that they arrested him. Acid was a friend of Kyle Spitz. He would tell me to quit my reporting or they were going to find me and rape and murder me. I remember this one time that my daughter was in the bed sleeping next to me and I got this message that said, in 30 minutes, if you don't delete everything about me, I'm gonna have your house shot up. And I remember just having this surreal moment of I am
live in a
living this
cul-de-sac.
normal
Good luck.
life here with my kid, and then at the same time I'm being threatened by satanic terrorists. And so I called and made a police report about it.
Police in the UK arrested Acid, whose real name is Cameron Finnegan, last March. The 19-year-old was sentenced to 9 years in prison for encouraging a victim to live stream her own suicide.
Only
in this
9?
police interview, Finnegan showed no remorse.
The only thing you're concerned about is if she went through with it and you got caught. Not about whether she was dead or not.
I don't think about stuff in that moment. That's just stupid, I say without thinking.
That lack
That's
of
your
empathy
excuse?
is a chilling hallmark of 764. We wanted to get our own look inside the mind of one of its members. Remember Allie Broadway, the girl we interviewed last year for our first investigation into 764?
21-year-old Caleb Merritt has abducted 12-year-old Allie Broadway.
We tracked down the man who raped and abducted her to a Virginia prison where he's serving a 33-year sentence.
That's a prison?
He was a founding member of CVLT, one of the original groups in the 764 network.
Why did you create this group?
It started out just as a way to get social media notoriety, I guess.
Did you share those images with other people and did that play into the notoriety that you were looking for?
Yes.
Did you think about the impact it would have on these young people?
Oh no, I had extreme empathy issues and sometimes I still do. It's something
Wait,
I'm
you
working.
have extreme empathy? I feel like it's the lack of empathy that you don't feel. Because if you had extreme empathy, you wouldn't be doing this.
There has been a mass shooting in Buffalo, New York.
He told me about the group's fascination with mass shooters, especially those motivated by racism.
11 of those 13 shot were black.
Why was that appealing?
It's hateful, I guess.
Hateful thoughts?
Yeah,
Towards who?
people who are different.
And what would that be?
Religious groups and certain minority groups.
I just refuse to let these guys scare me.
Becca says she has reported several 764 members to police.
I think that this is the greatest terror attack facing Western society. And I think it's only a matter of time before one of these kids succeeds in building a bomb or something even more devastating.
So there is an accelerationist ideal behind them where they want
Hey, Angela.
to
How you doing this
destroy the
morning?
status quo, the system as it is, but they don't want to rebuild some type of, utopia. These individuals just want to watch it burn.
Argentino has found links between 764 and other extremist groups.
And these are groups like No Lives Matter or Maniac Murder Cult that are motivated to get out of just the digital landscape and bring their sadism to the real world.
Maniac Murder Cult, also known as MKY or MKU, is a violent neo-Nazi network based in Eastern Europe. One of its leaders, known as Butcher, was arrested in Moldova and recently charged in a scheme to dress as Santa and hand out poison candy to Jewish children as well as to racial minorities. No Lives Matter is another nihilistic group originating in North America. They also circulate what they call kill guides, promoting targeted attacks and mass killings. These groups are infiltrating 764.
Did that say MKU?
Already active.
Yeah, look, MKU. That doesn't match the name that they said it was. And every time I'm not saying it's an experiment, but MK Ultra was an experiment.
Circulate what they call kill guides, promoting targeted attacks and mass killings. These groups are infiltrating 764.
Having individuals who are already active in the criminal space are prime recruits for these groups, because it's not someone who's going to sit behind a keyboard and do nothing. If you've been in this space for 2 years and you've been sextorting victims, you don't get the same high, you don't get the same clout. So
you gotta make it worse.
Evolve into something more violent and more criminal.
That 764 member in the UK who pushed a victim to kill herself? Police say he had one of those terror guides with instructions on how to carry out a truck attack and was plotting to kill a homeless man. But we found cases of others who weren't stopped in time. The most recent was a school shooting in Nashville that left a 16-year-old girl dead.
That was...
Others include the murder of an elderly woman in Romania and several stabbings in Sweden. And just weeks ago...
Oh, wait, the Marjorie's... Huh. I didn't know that had ties to 764.
Ominous sign MKY has surfaced closer to home, in Winnipeg.
Major Crimes Unit hate crimes investigators have been actively investigating reports of graffiti.
The Fifth Estate obtained this video believed to be taken at the scene of one of the incidents. A 19-year-old man was arrested. Just days ago, RCMP added multiple terror-related charges, including participating in activity of a terrorist group.
How worried should Canadians be?
Maybe they'll decide to get into a vehicle and drive it down Yonge Street and run over a bunch of people at random. Maybe they'll decide to go on a stabbing
spree. Was it 2 months ago?
It's a new era of evil. Torturing children is not enough. Police have now classified 764 as a terrorist threat. Ahead, a painful search for answers.
Where were you? Where were you when I needed you? What do you say to a family who feels that the RCMP...
Most likely, Stacy. I didn't even know that until today. And that makes perfect sense now.
Our investigation into 764 has raised a lot of questions and taken us to many places. One of the most revealing is Winston-Salem, a city in North Carolina. I'm about to meet an officer who helped put one of 764's most depraved predators behind bars.
Hi, what was CBC?
Detective Abraham Basco is with the Winston-Salem Police Department.
I heard about 764 in 2021 when I got my first cyber tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. The image reported was of child exploitation. It was very gruesome. We got a search warrant, developed that, and was able to execute that search warrant on Mr. Cutler's person.
A digital trail led police to 18-year-old Kier Cutler.
Dude, they're like teenagers.
Details about a large police presence in Winston-Salem.
We met here at the police department early that morning, went over there and looked for him, was able to find him actually, like I said, standing right there. We didn't know at that point in time in the interview the extent of his manipulation and what he was doing until after we started viewing the content on his phone.
Police found more than 700 images of child pornography, as well as images of cutting and gore.
I've never seen content to that level. I've been doing this job for a long time. The only word I could come up with was it was just absolute evil. So this is the location where Mr. Cutler was apprehended. It gave a lot of insight as far as what this group is doing. I mean, he created his own splinter group and was able to manipulate hundreds of people.
His own group? So there's more than just him.
What he said here.
One of the things that I found most chilling, kind of put the tingles in the back of my neck, was when we asked him, why are you doing this? What is your reason? And he said, I don't know, I like the blood. He liked to see the faces that people would make when they were hurting, in pain.
One of those faces belonged to a girl 764
Yeah, it's
named
crazy when you
Alexa.
think about, they like to see them in pain. They get off on it. And then you think about, maybe adrenochrome, where they take the fear. Kids feared, then they take their blood. Because it's that heightened sense that they just get off on. And stay young. Stay young.
But he had no way of knowing who or where
Allegedly,
she was
YouTube.
until the fall of 2023, when he got a tip about a possible victim.
And with that information was able to reach out. When I talked with her mother first, and her mother just talked about how this guy was essentially controlling her daughter.
Detective Basco was about to make a stunning discovery.
She told me what her online name was.
Apparently, he had seen photos of me on MK's phone.
He had seen the letters that she had wrote in blood.
I signed it Love Alexis on it, and so he'd been looking for Alexis. My mom said, oh, they named her Alexis. He was like, oh my God.
Trinity was finally able to put a face to her worst abuser.
What went through your mind when you heard he was arrested?
Thank God. I felt safe about speaking up.
When you actually make a connection to a human being and you're speaking to her on the phone, how does that change even the way you look at the investigation?
Absolutely. Hearing Trinity say, this is what he did to me, knowing that he's here so far away, it's still...
American police did more work than the
That's a scary thought, especially as a parent.
The Mounties.
That your kid could be 1,000 miles away from a suspect or from a victimizer, and yet they have such a hold or a control.
Cutler pleaded guilty to one count of distributing child pornography and is serving 7 years in prison. Trinity's case wasn't included.
So he only got for distributing pornography? What about possession? You just said 800 fucking images. You didn't charge him with possession? Gets out in 8 fucking years?
Included in his indictment, but Detective Basco wanted her to know police believed her. He arranged for the FBI from North Carolina to travel to Red Deer last May and notified the RCMP.
So this is the room that we had first come into.
The meeting with the FBI took place here at the Child Advocacy Center. The RCMP was also there.
I was really able to hopefully give more information that these people can go away for longer periods of time and that hopefully they'll find more, because I also gave a list of names.
That list of names included more than a dozen members who Trinity says exploited her. Among them, the founder of 764, also known as Felix, whose real name is Bradley Cadenhead.
Bite the head off or I'll fuck your whole life up.
You might remember Felix was the one forcing a girl to behead a hamster. Trinity hopes the name she gave police will lead to more arrests.
This whole situation is giving me power back. I felt like I lost a piece of myself to this.
It was the very first time that she was looked in the face and told that she was a true victim and that she didn't deserve what happened to her.
An RCMP officer led the interview. Maria says it was the first time Mounties spoke to Trinity about 764 since her suicide attempt 3 years before.
So what do you think about the fact that it seems that the RCMP only really started to talk to you about 764 after the FBI wanted to talk to you?
I feel like, wow, you dropped the ball. When somebody comes to you with such a far-fetched story, not only that, but cuts all over a child's body and pictures, Maybe you should have believed us.
Well, now you
She
have
says the
Angela.
interview
It won't.
lasted 7 hours.
They said, do you have any questions? And I did say, where the fuck were you? Where were you? Where were you when I needed you?
How did they
I feel
explain
like I already made
They
this video.
started stammering and didn't know how to answer that question.
And she continued to be victimized for years after. I appreciate how kind and soft they were with my daughter, but can I trust that if a mom calls tomorrow, they're gonna listen to her? No.
We had questions about Trinity's case and the rising threat of 764. We took them to the RCMP, which is leading 764 investigations in Canada.
Hi, we're with CBC, the Fifth Estate.
We had been asking the Mounties for an interview since our first story a year ago. Finally,
And nothing now?
Inspector
Okay.
Matt Johnson with the RCMP's counterterrorism unit in Edmonton, known as INSET, agreed to talk to us, but only about 764. We still asked about Trinity.
That family felt that at the time, the RCMP didn't take their case seriously. Not until the FBI came to Alberta to speak to this girl as part of its wider investigation. How do you respond to that?
Ongoing operations or investigations I can't comment on.
How urgent would you say this issue is?
It's not.
I would say that any investigation we have, inset or not, where we believe there's a threat to safety or threat to life, it is a priority.
Right. So why wasn't this girl's case a priority, you think?
Again,
I thought
can't
their
speak to that
priorities were arresting people protesting COVID and truck drivers, freezing their fucking assets. Wasn't that you guys?
specific investigation. This was something that we didn't really have on our radar in 2021 as far as a 764 investigation. So that's something that potentially could have played a factor.
But in Trinity's case, the RCMP in Red Deer did know about 764 back in 2021. It was in the court order to put her in care after her last suicide attempt.
They even took her electronics and found nothing,
Right.
which the family finds very hard to believe.
Right.
How do you address those questions that they're left with?
And again, without being acquainted with those facts and ongoing investigations, I can't speak to that or that specific instance.
I think one of the strangest things about Canada, we know they have sex offenders. They have a sex offender registry, yet the local populace can't view it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Laura. Is that still the same?
For those answers.
As far as answers as to what next,
Or what happened then?
I'd suggest that they could re-engage with those investigators.
I want you to hear me.
Maria says she did re-engage with the Red Deer detachment after the FBI's visit.
You asked to see your file too, right? I did ask to see my file.
But police here told her they weren't authorized to share it.
So basically, what did you get out of coming here?
Nothing. I wasted 2 hours of my day.
Another nagging question. Why couldn't RCMP
Oh, you just can't view where they live? Okay.
break into their devices?
I came to them. I gave them evidence. They
Which is
told me they
terrible.
didn't find any.
Because how are you going to know if one of these fuckers are living right next door to you and you have 3 kids? And in Canada, you're not allowed to have a gun, right? Thanks to Trudeau or Castro Jr.
I find that hard to believe.
We found it hard to believe too, so we asked the RCMP here to help us understand what happened. In emails, it repeated to the Fifth Estate that the family provided incorrect passwords and that police got into the laptop, but other investigational techniques were still unable to access
Bullshit.
one of the phones. So how about
Oh,
the
it's an
other phone?
Apple.
And did police find any evidence on the laptop? When we asked the RCMP, it said it couldn't discuss the case further because Trinity was a youth at the time.
Why don't you want to address it? I had to call the United States a whole nother country so I could be heard?
3 years after Trinity's suicide attempt, the Mounties issued a national public warning about the 764 network.
Given the severity and the threat, why not issue that sooner then?
We didn't have a good
Wait, why haven't
idea
we
of what we were dealing with
known
and
about
the
it?
proper information to release at the time. This is an odd blend of that crime subset with the terrorism component. It's unlike anything we've seen before. In fact, it's something that internationally, both police and then our intelligence security partners are still trying to wrap our heads around.
When we come back,
The potential to miss these cases is large.
Hey,
right
it's
now.
Johnny Bravo.
and can a predator be reformed?
People would look at children perpetrating on children and think, well, they must be sociopaths.
You spend a lot of time in here?
Yeah, mainly I just sit here on the phone with my friends.
Several months after Maria and Trinity met with the FBI and the RCMP, we went back to Red Deer.
We need to feel things in order to go through them, to process them, because I didn't feel anything about this. So now I'm just going through that.
And how does that feel?
It sucks. I look in the mirror now and it's like,
That
oh fuck, I
necklace
still see
cover up the
that engraved
swastika?
in my chest. I really wish it wasn't there, but I can't unsee it.
Even though she gave police a list of names, no one's been held responsible for exploiting Trinity.
It all really came
Oh,
back
I
when
will,
the police
Pure
came.
Virus. I will. There's plenty of things we can do as a solution. One of them is a wood chipper, which obviously, you know, I want to go with an older model that's a little bit slower and rusty. Or 762. Or, hear me out. You guys heard of my piano wire? So you check it out. Take piano wire, wrap it around their neck and tie it off. Like a long piece maybe. Then you super glue their hands to their face. And then you throw them off a building.
To talk to you
Oh,
when
yeah.
the FBI did, when the RCMP did.
And then we had that huge argument over where the fuck were you? And they were like, well, that's kind of what sent me down a spiral.
So do you want this on its own? Or?
No, just be really careful with it, because that can...
Or a giant oven. Are we still allowed to do that after World War II?
break into like two really quick.
Trinity is an adult now. There's been a lot of tension at home. It's why she's moving out.
I've been treating her like she's
Well, I don't know if
14
that's a
and
good
she's not
idea.
14. You know, she doesn't need me to save her. That's why I think that the time apart would be good for us.
How hard has it been for you?
I don't like it when I cry on here. I'm sorry. I'm scared that it's gonna happen again. I'm terrified it's gonna happen again.
Yeah, why is her
But
tattoos on her hand say choke?
I fought for so long to keep this kid alive, and so it's like hard. And having to talk about all this stuff is hard. I thought
I
it
don't
was
wanna
one of those
waste
things
water.
that, you know, we were just gonna get rid of, and it would be gone,
Unless
and
it's
it would
raw
be done with.
sewage.
And now I have to dredge up my darkest, deepest secrets to the world, so that we can hopefully help another family, and that nobody has to go through this like we did.
"764 has caught police off guard, but it is a priority now. These officers are with Alert, Alberta's law enforcement response teams, made up of police from multiple jurisdictions, including the RCMP. Alert was the first to publicly identify 764 cases in Canada a year ago, among them a 14-year-old boy charged in Lethbridge. Sergeant Kerry Shima was running Alert when we met him last summer.
There's a high potential of missing these cases. Our frontline officers may go to a call where there's a youth self-harming or a youth attempting suicide, or even in worst case scenario.
No,
where
man,
youth
if you want
has
to
died by
waterboard
suicide.
somebody, you got to use molasses. Guarantee you it's not going to last that long, and they're going to hate life. Or, this is the best part. You stake them down. Tiny little cuts all over their body, just like they want people to cut, right? And then put brake fluid slowly on all those cuts. They'll like it.
Without the awareness of what a member of the 764 group could do or could be responsible for.
Allegedly YouTube and Minecraft.
That could certainly be missed.
This is a referral from Homeland Security.
Alert's child exploitation unit is flooded with thousands of tips every year. And while this one is not related to 764, police acknowledge they probably didn't even recognize many that were. We asked Sergeant Shima about Trinity. He had never heard of her case.
It crushes me.
I don't feel like
I could tell you that there isn't a police officer on the planet who wouldn't want to rewind that tape, knowing what we know now about that group, and go back and try again.
Sergeant Shima had just come back from meeting with the FBI about 764 when we interviewed him.
Did you get a sense that there's a sense of urgency?
Yes. Yep.
Really?
There's a sense of urgency. When you involve kids,
Oh, the
in crime,
FBI.
It motivates law enforcement like nothing else.
A few weeks ago, the FBI issued another advisory, warning of a sharp increase in the activity of 764 and other violent
did I
online
miss that?
networks. And while there have been more arrests, no one really knows what to do next.
So I have a few things to talk about. One of them we'll start with trying to figure out working with this 764 population.
Peter Smith is a social worker at Edmonton's Organization for the Prevention of Violence, or OPV. OPV works to reintegrate extremists into society.
We're in the reactive phase because we're getting referrals, but there's little information, nothing preventative going on.
Wait, did he say reintegrate extremists?
Absolutely. The youngest has been 8, profoundly disturbing.
OPV is the first group like it in Canada working with 764 members. Both are minors.
How's that going with these cases?
One is so new, we're not there yet, but we're making some headway. Teenagers, they're just not going to just open themselves up and trust right away.
Are you encountering that kind of thinking, that they're just doing it for the sake of causing harm?
People would look at children perpetrating on children and sociopaths. In my work over my career working with hundreds of youth, I could count on less than one hand the number of children or youth diagnosed as a sociopath, and that's where we look at more this dissociation. So in another setting, with the right support and help, could they demonstrate compassion and empathy? I'm thinking, yeah, every reason to believe that.
This is the other room.
I love it. They're pretty much the same size.
They're pretty much the same size. It's a big, huge step. 4 years ago, I couldn't even be left alone for 10 minutes. And now it's like I'm moving out and I'm living on my own.
I'd like to be able to get past what happened. I do hold it hard in my heart at the moment. It was horrible to watch this happen to her and fight with nothing but walls.
It was unexpected, but a few weeks after our interview with the RCMP, the walls started coming down. An officer from Edmonton's Inset unit reached out to Maria to offer support and to help remove Trinity's images online.
He did state, he's not here to apologize for what's happened, and I don't need an apology. What I need is, what are you going to do now, moving forward?
Action.
It's too late for an apology.
RCMP told the Fifth Estate that this past fall it launched an awareness campaign on 764 for both the public and police officers.
I am glad that they're listening
Laura?
now, because
Can
the
you
way
verify?
Trinity was involved then. If then they were convincing kids to do mass shooting, my kid would have done that. And that is terrifying to think. The other thing is that when a police officer goes and takes a picture of another 15-year-old girl with no clothes on, they don't look at her and judge her because she cut herself. They're going to feel empathy and understand that this is not her doing, that somebody is making her do this. I don't ever want to
crazy
watch
because her
another child
daughter, they
suffer
made
the
her
way that
cut
my
her
child
vagina.
suffered. I watch my kid die every day. Every day I watch somebody that didn't want to be on this earth, that felt like a stain, that felt that she wasn't enough. I don't ever want somebody to feel like that.
But many children don't make it out alive. In our documentary last year, we spoke to a Canadian father whose daughter was being exploited by 764.
This call was in our house.
Maybe I did that video last year.
We've learned she killed herself a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I did.
It's a devastating reminder of how lucky they are. And while the past can't be erased, time and therapy are helping them leave it further behind.
I want my complete focus to be on stability. I have gone through so much. I really need to settle down and find my common ground and live my best life. I had no other option but to give them what they wanted, to quit or tap out. So I thought. I was rescued and I was taught how to fight. Now I will never stop fighting for myself and for others, because I am a survivor and you can be too.
Well, that's the overview of 762, which they need to be eliminated. And we know it's a worldwide network already. And it looks like it's been getting worse. 764, I don't know why I said 762. I think that's an Atlanta number. But yeah. So that's pretty much, no, I don't want to end it now. So I'm going to finish the rest of the stuff that I wanted to go over, since the main portion, if you guys want to take off already, more than happy to. But I'm going to go over some of the stuff that happened yesterday. Trying First, we're going to listen to AOC about the Democrats that stormed the facility in New Jersey. That's why I think 762. Thanks, Stacey. You know.
So from Massachusetts to this scene in New Jersey on Friday, where
So,
immigration's hitting a
this young
flashpoint
lady,
in Newark.
I don't know,
This is
in the red. Like I said yesterday, she violated 18 U.S. Code 111. She's not in handcuffs to this day. Multiple times he was seen shoving ICE or law enforcement. Federal law enforcement, but it's okay, right? Because she's a congressman and she's above the law.
body cam video showing 3 House Democrats confronting ICE agents outside a detention facility there. The DHS saying that arrests are still on the table after that chaos. The acting ICE director, Todd Lyons, here in studio to talk about this. And good morning to you. Got a lot of things we want to sort out here. Democrats claim they have congressional oversight, and they're on a visit for oversight, and they have the right to conduct that under federal law. You say to them what, based on what we know now?
I say 100% they do. That is in their purview. They do have congressional oversight. What we ask for is for them to do it the right way. Notify us in advance. You know, don't make a scene. Don't put my office in jeopardy. Don't put the men and women who work.
You know, they should have figured if those retards went down to CCOT and they couldn't get in, what makes you think that you're going to be able to get in the United States? This is 2025. This ain't the same country.
Work there at jeopardy. You know, the protesters were out there. Just
All right,
do it the
Laura.
right way.
So where in this case did they cross the line in your view?
In my view, trying to force their way in, just trying to make a political stunt out of this, really, it goes above and beyond. ICE is all about transparency. You know, today we were there, had a tour of the facility with several media outlets. We want people to see what we're doing.
Look at that bulldozer.
But when you go ahead and you try to storm your way in, when you try to just bring cameras, bully my officers and agents, that's just not the right way to do it. Let's work together. Let's have that oversight, but let's do it in a professional manner, not a political stunt.
So the mayor of Newark, Ross Baraka, he had this to say on MSNBC on Saturday.
We don't know what's
This is
going
why
on.
I think it's about Ross, whatever. If you look behind him, the Democratic primary for governor is in June. Next month. And this happens? I wonder how many votes he's going to get for this.
On in there, we don't know who's in there.
All right,
They
Stacey.
don't allow inspections. They're not doing.
I'll talk to you later, bro.
You know, they're not complying with the local laws. They don't have a certificate of occupancy in our argument, and we were in court arguing these matters. We usually solve those problems in America through the court of law. They don't want to use the court. They want to use a decree. They believe that what they say goes, that we have a kingdom here and not a democracy, and that's the problem.
He's in the middle of a primary election. There's a gubernatorial election in November in New Jersey. So he's running against other
Primary
Democrats.
in June.
A lot of people might not know his
Fox
name,
News.
but now
Pay
a lot of
attention.
people will after this. He says that all of these things are not being done legally at that facility. What do you say?
You know, we wouldn't have been able to have anyone legally in that facility without the permits. And one thing that I really find strikingly odd in this case is the mayor was elected in 2014. In 2014, Delaney Hall was open. There were immigration detainees there at that time. At no time under President Obama did he want to go ahead and have a protest. But yet now he makes a political stunt like this. And, you know, he also made the comments he wasn't there to protest, but he'd been there all week. So there's, you know,
They didn't mention
there's
that part.
Oh, so that's from the mayor. Here's some AOC on camera too. Watch.
If anyone's breaking the law in this situation, it's not members of Congress, it's the Department of Homeland Security. It's people like Tom Homan and Secretary Kristi Noem. You lay a finger on them, we are going to have a problem.
You can address that comment. That's the way we rolled it. Also want to know how many people are in this specific facility? What are they accused of?
Why don't we just talk about what she just said?
So currently at the Delaney Hall facility is 152 detainees. 75% of them are convicted of a crime or pending criminal charges. People that are in there, the crimes that they're accused of are rape, child molestation, fentanyl trafficking, murder, wire fraud. These aren't the people you want in your neighborhoods. These are the people that
That's
are
the
the
people
worst
they
of the worst.
want for our
that ICE
neighborhoods.
are out there arresting, putting their lives in line every day. And to address that comment, under the leadership of Secretary Noem and President Trump, we are out there doing what the American people
How the
want.
fuck you're
and
an
that is
alleged
getting
gang
these
member,
public safety
convicted
threats
felon, and
off the
still in this
street so they're
country?
not out there to reoffend again.
This morning you were with Rachel Campos Duffy, and you were giving a little bit of a tour. What do you hope to try to show people in terms of the transparency that these members of Congress say they want? So you are providing it.
Right, and you know, I was really happy to have the opportunity to kind of pull back that curtain and let people see exactly what's going on. ICE detention standards are some of the highest in the business. And when you come and you...
Aside from that protest we had a couple days, this actually happened yesterday. So it's in two segments. I guess one segment is like, you're really, really being nice, peaceful protesting. And then shift change comes.
Please leave the area. Please leave the area. Please leave the area.
They're asking him to leave. During this whole process, I don't know if they're going to show this, but they prevented 2 ambulances from entering their facility. Oh no, you were moved.
This is private property. Please leave the area.
We're fighting for liberation. We're fighting for liberation. We shall not be moved. We're fighting for liberation. We should not be moved. Just like the trees that's planted by the water.
From Palestine to Mexico? What the fuck is he protesting? And there's detainees in that van. The driver is just like, I'm just here to do my job. Or, you know, I'm just here to do my job. And these lefties are going to be like, well, Nazis were just doing their job. Exactly, it's a job. Something a lot of these liberals don't know about. Don't get with people, huh? Oh yeah, see? Her heart goes out. That lady's retired. She's got nothing better to do. Oh no, they still got in there. She's so proud of herself.
That machine. I know you're doing this probably because you can't afford to do anything else, but we want to tell you, we are here for the immigrants, but we will also be here for you. If you choose to take off your uniform, we will advocate for you to find better jobs. Healthier
No, you
jobs.
won't.
Which side are you on?
Which side are you on?
My people.
Fight back. Why are we here?
CEMS.
We want freedom. Why are we here? We want freedom. Why are we here? We want freedom. Free our
Freedom for
people.
illegals,
This is
rapists, child
sacred
murderers,
ground.
child
Free our
molesters.
people.
Yeah, I
This
can
is
see
not
why you
a-
want that
This is not a
freedom.
legal facility. This is not a legal facility. Our
Totally
people
legal.
need to be free. There needs to be oversight here. We are people of faith standing here today because this is.
So when this, like I said, when this place opened on May 1st, were they outside? I mean, it's owned by a private company for 10 years. 10 years. Leased out to ICE and Homeland Security. What oversight? What does a fucking congressman need to do with immigration and naturalization? That's world affairs, isn't it? Why don't you worry about approving that free plane from Qatar, which Did you know that Air Force One is about 35 years old? And it will cost about $40 billion to get a new one. But Qatar donated to the Department of Defense. And they're trying to say it's a tit for tat. It's my scratching your back, you scratch mine. Well, if you look at it right now, Middle East is slowly stopping fights. Stop fighting. All we got to do right now is worry about Israel. And when we made a deal with Hamas, we made a deal with the Yemen, behind Israel's back, of course, because, you know, they're going to be so mad. And they'll probably pull another 9/11.
This is morally wrong. This is morally wrong. We are standing here today as people of faith because this is morally wrong. Everybody behind those gates has the opportunity to choose justice.
EMS, not allowed
You
in.
have an
With the lights
opportunity.
on.
You have an opportunity. You have an opportunity. You can change what you're doing.
What if somebody inside hurt and you retards are blocking them?
Freedom. You can
See?
stand on the side of freedom. You can stand on the side of freedom.
Nobody called for an ambulance? They said nobody called for an ambulance.
Bullshit.
The lady said nobody called for an ambulance.
What lady?
They said nobody called for an ambulance.
So it's okay not to get out of the way? Why are they dying in Newark? Does it have anything to do with gangs? Three vehicles for you.
Person in charge, we clearly hear that nobody calls the ambulance. You know what he's saying?
Shut up, monkey.
Wasting resources.
Want them to stop wasting resources, but the fact that they're standing outside that gate, resources are being wasted for the Newark Police Department. So you, in fact, are wasting resources. I don't understand why people want to keep criminals in this country. And then you look around, the people that are protesting are all Democrats because maybe Newark's fucking mayor is pissed because now he can't use all those illegals for his votes for the primary. These people are protesting because they're being told to. They're being told that illegals are good. They're being told that rapists are good. They're being told that murderers are good as long as they're illegal. They don't look like they want to be there.
Everywhere we go! I think it's important to note that in this, we're not going to be divided. It's not about who's on. Your mind gets weary. Know who you are here for. Know that you are here for justice.
There's no such thing as a female
We
priest.
will not allow this to stand. And we will continue to show up. We will continue to apply pressure. We will continue to do the work of organizing until justice.
Where were these people protesting when our hostages were being held in Israel? Same thing, Gaza, by Hamas, Israelis. Where were they? Were they protesting about the embassies in Israel? Or Israeli embassies in the United States? Were they? No. They're just protesting in colleges and tearing shit down. They didn't arrest them. So it's okay to, genocide, which it's just dumb. They want to care about, illegals over Americans that were in jail in other countries, which, if you've been watching the news, some of the news, you'll see that President Trump is being freeing people from jails left and right outside this country. And hostages. One that was in captivity for 4 years. They don't know that, and fuck.
Praise across the... Come on, guys! Let nobody turn around, turn it around, turn it around, they gonna let...
Why did they do that?
They're only immigrants. Illegal.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, YouTube's already going to make this flag for 18 and above, but I always have my videos 18 and above, so it's no worries for me. Hope y'all enjoyed the brief overview of what apparently is taking this country and the world by storm, and they're only getting worse according to that news report from the 5th Estate from a month ago. And, well, as of May, they're still arresting people. May 1st, as we saw in that news segment. But I'm not telling you how to think, because that's just fucking dumb and stupid. I'm just telling you to think, because that makes you smarter, obviously, than these people protesting. I get it. They want human rights. But when you are criminals with the shit that they've been arrested for, do they still deserve human rights if they raped a child? If they raped a woman? If they murdered someone? Makes no sense. But y'all have a good rest of the day, and I see you next time.